Good morning. Good morning. So I think we've got some folks here. You can let those folks in the waiting room. I don't know where my mind disappeared to. Yeah, we're excited today. It is July 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I mean, we're literally like month 7. Yeah, so 2020 is almost over. I know a lot of folks are excited about that for a number of reasons. I've seen church be like 2020 delete and all this kind of stuff. And so, but I will also say that there's a lot that's happened in 2020 that I haven't requested. And there's been some things that have come out of that have really added to our growth and development individually and as a couple. And so we're trying some things different this morning. We're in Edgewater, New Jersey, as you know. We're also just trying to figure this technology thing out, right? And so the goal is really to have a space where people can come feel safe, right? It's a sacred space. That means that we honor all faiths, all traditions, and supporting people in there as we look to pass on a message around faith-related subtopic, and then also pass on, more importantly, not just that insight, but an application, a tip, a suggestion that you can say, hey, if you go put this into place today, then we think regardless of what your faith is, that this can help to have your life be different. And so we're excited about that. Let me just do a quick introduction. So I think that if in the chat, if you can see the PowerPoint on the screen, somebody could just put a 1 up or something and say yes. I don't know why I'm not seeing the folks. Is that yes? Can you see the PowerPoint? For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Okay. So what I like to do is just kick this off with introductions, right?
Are you asking me to introduce her? This is your part.
I know. Want to see if you was paying attention?
Yeah.
Oh.
My name's Naomi Jewell, and I am the executive director and spiritual director of the NIA Center, and welcome you today. Those of you who are joining live, and those who may be seeing the rebroadcast. I see Donna Dickerson and Tavana Jones are watching, so thank you for tuning in. So good morning to everybody on the actual Zoom here.
Yes.
I see Nia Leek, Nikki, Noreen, Dana, Melody, Angela, and some others are connecting.
Yeah.
I'm Maureen and others. So feel free to follow us. Hey, Inez, on Facebook, YouTube, or live in the Zoom. If you want to be a part of the conversation, though,
you gotta come to the
and
Zoom.
we want you to be part of the conversation.
Right.
You've got to join us on the Zoom. So
plus, our devices are so far out of our reach, we couldn't get to the comment back to you anyway.
Right.
But we do see you on there. But I really wasn't gonna make you introduce yourself. I just like to hear you talk. See, more husbands should say that, right? More husbands should say their wives. They just like to hear them talk.
He wants something. I'll find out what it is after this is over.
So I'm Mark Christmas. I am my director of Holistic Wellness. Holistic Wellness, what's that, Mark? Holistic Wellness means everything you. I mean, your mental, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, your financial. And so we at the NIA Center have programs designed to support you in living your purpose and having the life of your and really of your choosing. I guess you do get to have the life of your choosing. And if you choose to even have that be even better, we want to support you in that, right? And whether that be through programs like the Sacred Space Sunday, or whether that be special events we do around particular physical health or emotional health and wellness, whether it be the Reiki programs or whether it be some financial wellness programs. Those are all designed with the whole person in mind. So that's what I like to call holistic wellness. What else? What else do you need to know? Why don't we start off with a prayer, right? And so I'll go ahead and take that part if that's okay.
Great.
Okay, great. So in this moment, I'd just like to say thank you for those of you that are able to join us in whatever way that supports you. I just invite you to arrive in this moment, in this right now, in the space that we know that is divinely set up just for us, and that this is a divine exchange of sacred beings in human having a human existence, whether it be on the internet or whether it be on the Zoom or whether it be on the phone. We know that in this moment the truth is that we are all divinely designed. And in that divine design, we know that right now, that whatever is available to us through you, as us, that we all look to say thank you and to receive it. We also ask that in this moment that we open our divine eyes, our divine minds, to let our souls and our spirits be fed, and then we can go out and be a blessing not only to ourselves but to those in the world around us. In your name we pray and thank you. Amen. So it is.
Amen. And so it is.
Right.
Shalom, Ubuntu, Namaste.
That was a lot of words, man.
We want to represent
What is
all the
Ubuntu?
ways African, and it's similar to Namaste in that I see you and I see all that is you, and I experience you and I open myself to be seen as well.
Okay.
So it is a way that we just affirm and welcome in all that was said into our existence for ourselves and those around us.
And no Butu, N-O-B-U.
UB.
Oh, okay.
UNTU. So one of our I've got a new name for us. Faith walkers can certainly use the Google University and put a link in the chat for those who are looking to understand Ubuntu. It's an African word, so somebody in all of our different media exchanges, Google it for me and put the links in so that everyone can be on the same page.
Awesome. I
Good
love
morning,
it.
good morning, welcome, and
Hey,
thank you.
Tanya Lambert, I see you on the slide over to me a little bit. Maybe go this way. All
Ah.
right, perfect. So look, we're not going to take a bunch of time. If you're on Zoom, I think most of you have been on here, have been here before. We've got somebody waiting, I'll let you in. If you've been here before, if you come in, put yourself on mute. If you want to speak, you just unmute, right? That just really helps the sound quality, the recording for the playbacks and things of that nature. If you're in the other spaces that are watching us, we'll look at the replay later. We'll look to comment, but we also welcome you to the Zoom if you're on our pages, whether that be the NIA Center, the Allverse page, our personal page. You can click the link and join the invite to join the live Zoom discussion. What else? Do we want to talk about some of these things going on?
Yeah, before we get into our talk today, and we've got an exciting talk today, exciting in the sense that it may break us open. The topic itself about walking the faith walk is very serious, but it's always exciting to me, right, to step further into my full potential and my oneness with my divine maker. So we think it's an exciting talk. But before that, we want to talk about what's going on in the world, because there's so much going on in the world. Right. And the question that I continue to hear in the many spaces and places where I'm able to connect with people is, one, what is mine to do? And then what can I do? So we want to talk about a few things going on in the world and how you can be actively involved and go from there. And then be thinking about any announcements that you have, and certainly put those in the chat. Because we want to know what it is that you want the world to know. Yeah. Mark?
Well, I think one of the things that's exciting is this whole Poor People's Campaign. I think it was 2 weeks ago, June 16th, maybe, somewhere around that.
June 20th,
when they had the event, the virtual event. And so, I shared the link and somebody said, hey, this seems really staged, because they had people from all over the world talking. And it was in the sense that it was supposed to be a live event due to the COVID-19, the pandemic. They said, hey, and they had enough time to where they could actually cut and paste people talking, recording events, different events that they've had from the previous year as well as this year. But what I thought was interesting was the number of people that they said. So for one example was they talked about the number of people who were registered to vote in Michigan, right, in the last presidential election that didn't vote. And it was something like, they were eligible, it was like 2.3 million people, right? Now, for those of you who if you've been alive, you've heard these numbers over the last years, that I think the margin of victory in Michigan for Trump was something like 170,000 people, right? And so just if even 10% of that 2.3 million who were eligible to vote may have turned out to vote, we may have had a different president. But it was just staggering. But so the Poor People's Campaign says, hey, regardless of your race, your creed, your gender, your whatever, if you're poor, you're poor. And and so they had. I think they had a thing with some coal miners. They had minorities. They had black people. They had Hispanic people. They had Native Americans. They really put it out in a way that I can say I hadn't really seen or maybe been open to before. And so I think it's just interesting. Check out the Poor People's Campaign. Choose for yourself if it's something you want to support. But we definitely wanted to make sure that you were aware of it, right? So, okay, secondly, what else is here? This little thing wants to keep jumping in my way. We talk about Allverse. Angela, I hope you all can see this on the screen. If you can, just put up a 1 if you can see if you see the not the PowerPoint, but the Allverse page. So Allverse is I guess it was about maybe 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago when we started Allverse. And it was a group that was really created for the uplift of the world. And so what we say, hey, anybody is welcome to be a member. Anybody is welcome to post, as long as it's something uplifting. It could be media. It could be a picture. It could be a video. It could be a song. Jason Mitchell was a regular poster. He posts this. He does a live prayer every day. Angela, without Angela, there would be no Allverse. She's really our curator. She so many wonderful things, from pictures to exposés, things that she's found. We sometimes a few years ago we did the first worldwide collaborative poem, and we had I forgot how many people from across the world. Angela, you may remember the numbers. And so we look to just do things to support. We know we've had some new folks that have been posting there lately. We got people that post about acting. What's the guy?
Yeah, you'll have to go in there. But I mean, it's available for you. It's our space. It's for everyone. And so the only rule in Allverse is to post things that are uplifting. So that could be something funny. That could be entrepreneurial endeavors that you have that positively impact the world. That could be a positive saying, beautiful pictures, whatever it is. It's our community to share and to grow. So please join Allverse if you haven't and share.
Yep. And then I think the last thing is that we have, the NIA Center. If you haven't been to the NIA Center website, niacenter.org. We'll put that in the comments as well. niacenter.org. This is just a picture. We talked about the Reiki services where you can, book the Reiki services there. There's other things that's there as well. But just wanted to show you. I know we talk about them, but I thought it'd be nice to show you something different. So, with that being said, Nay, I want to take it back, and I did something Tuesday, which I hadn't done in a long time. Well, I guess since they had the last election. But I just moved to New Jersey, and I went and voted, right? And so Naomi actually, being this because she's on top of the world, she did the mail-in voting, right? Now we both got our mail-in ballots, but obviously only one of them got it in time, and so the other had to go to the physical polling place to experience it. And it was actually kind of interesting. I didn't know what to expect. The ballot was different than we actually sat at a table and filled out our ballot instead of like going into a booth, and so it was a very different experience. But we know that there's still elections, primary elections going on in some places, and so if you can go to the website. If you don't know what the voting rules are in your state, certainly check them out because they're constantly changing, right? They are constantly changing. A lot of folks are continuing to petition for mail-in ballots, and we see there's a lot of things happening that need your support. Finally, social media. If you, whether you're on Instagram, like us and subscribe to us. Now, here's the deal. I didn't used to understand. People were like, hey, like my social media page, or like this. And so here's how YouTube works, right? You've got to get a total number of subscribers for YouTube to give you a certain level of recognition. So, for example, we couldn't go live to YouTube because we don't have enough number of subscribers. And YouTube is like, no, not going to have you doing it. So, if you subscribe, thank you. If you haven't, please go out and share it with and ask some other folks so we get our subscriber numbers up so that we can really share this message of power and inspiration to others, because we believe that as NIA means intent and purpose, that our purpose is to really support people in understanding, embracing, and living in their purpose.
Great. Anything else?
Next Active Space Sunday, 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from
2
now,
weeks from now.
July 26th, join us again. We will continue to be here every other Sunday. So this morning, so I spent a good amount of time preparing today's talk.
Should we record now?
Sure, I mean, I think we are a lot of places, but I spent a lot of time preparing today's talk. And then I woke up this morning with it on my heart to actually speak about something different. And the thing that's ironic about it is that today's talk was called Walking the Faith Walk, a Revolutionary Spirit is Insufficient. And so I want to start by reading a quote from the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who was later called the Buddha. After he died, he was given the title the Buddha, which means awakened one or enlightened one. He said, "My teaching is not a philosophy. This meeting is being recorded. It is the result of direct experience. My teaching is a means of practice, not something to hold on to or worship. My teaching is like a raft used to cross the river. Only a fool would carry the raft around with her after she had already reached the other shore of liberation." Now the Buddha said he, I said her, because I gotta say, those of us that I identify as female are heavy on my mind and heart and spirit today. And although this is a message for all those who identify as women, this morning I really am holding space for those who identify as Black women. I was on a call Friday night as a part of a group that I'm a part of, and it was around 40 Black women pastors around the country. And the theme that was recurring, we all got a chance to share. Was something we've been talking about on Sacred Space Sunday for months. The many ways that grief is showing up. Mourning the loss of being able to move about the way you want to. Mourning the loss of actual people who have made their transition. Mourning the loss sometimes of jobs, of opportunities, of communities, particularly communities of worship, to be able to be in person. Mourning the loss of being able to touch and hug and kiss people the way that you want to. Mourning the loss of just feeling the freedom to go out and be. Mourning the loss of those who have been killed by racial violence recently and through the 400 years that we have been here in the United States. And so many other ways that loss is showing up. And although we all carry these losses in our own way and process our own way, historically, traditionally, and certainly what was expressed on that call is the way that Black women carry it, because we carry it often for ourselves and our families, our friends, and frankly, the world. And so this morning, I am grateful and excited to be here, and I am exhausted. I'm exhausted. And the reason that I am sharing this message, because today's talk was about your faith walk and that a revolutionary spirit is insufficient. So me holding the space for you and talking to you about, don't just hold what you're feeling inside. Feel free to express it. Don't just receive a message from the divine and not take action on it. One of the things I put in the notes for the talk today, right, was to mention a saying that my mom often said to me when I was growing up, and I think many of you have heard it before. We plan and God laughs, right?
Yeah.
That was in my notes. We plan and God laughs. And to share with you that I heard a new one this week that I had never heard before. God's pencil has a huge eraser.
I haven't heard that.
I love that. God's pencil has a huge eraser. So I had a whole intention about what this talk meant. But when I woke up this morning, what it meant for me was that my revolutionary spirit about talking to you about having a revolutionary spirit was insufficient, because for me, walking the faith walk was to be able to come here and say, I'm tired. The weight of the world, I feel it. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get back up. But that is honestly, I'm moving through the world feeling. As I've shared before, I'm an empath, so I'm literally feeling my own grief and the grief that surrounds us. You know, I've joked that I can't turn off CNN. I've been turning it off. I can't take anymore right now. So I get to pause. Which brings me back to the message, right? It's interesting. We say, I've been talking about a faith walk. So I want to remind us what we mean by faith, because that's actually how we started Sacred Space Sunday. Back in September of 2019, talking about faith. And we define faith as an internal act of ultimate commitment, distinguishing faith from beliefs, which are the expression of your faith.
Yeah, we did like maybe three or four talks on faith.
Several talks. Yeah. And so faith, I want to really get us in touch with faith, because I don't know about you, but right now, the one thing I can count on is my faith. The reason why this feeling of tired and exhaustion doesn't have me stopping and laying down, because I have faith. And so what do I mean when I say I have faith? It is actually a divine experiential reality. It is real. I feel it. I experience it. And so for each of you, as we said, faith is an internal act. So how faith shows up for each of us individually. But oftentimes it may include non-ordinary states of consciousness. Non-ordinary states of consciousness. So that means distinguished from the consciousness that we're just walking around, doing what we do, making the breakfast, getting in the shower, talking to our friends and family, being on these Zoom meetings and calls. That's one state of consciousness. But a divine consciousness is distinguished from that. It's a knowing. It's a sense of connectedness with the sacred. And it's transformative. It may be something that you know is real, but you can't put into words. Though I've tried. And I'm sure I've fallen very, very flat. Okay? But it's experiential, it's mystical, it's individual, it's an internal experience. It's what confirms and affirms that source that goes by so many names. That life, that love, that force, that God is both immanent and transcendent. Both immanent and transcendent. Immanent meaning it's indwelling. That's that oneness, love, and joy. That's that immanence of the presence. And it's transcendent. That's that beyondness. That's that knowing that we don't know, that is so infinite, that is bigger, that our minds can never ever capture. That faith is that connection with the immanent and the transcendent.
I love that. The immanent and the transcendent.
So that's faith. That's faith.
Okay.
And we also talked about revolution. on Sacred Space Sunday. And we talked about it on February 9th, Sacred Space Sunday, because it was the day before my birthday, which is February 10th. And we talked about, this new revolution around the sun. So we spent a whole Sacred Space Sunday talking about revolution. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about just as the pandemic started to really rear its head and make itself clear, mm-hmm. that it was time to re-up.
Yeah.
What does revolution start with? R-E. We had no idea what kind of revolutions would be coming when we first talked about it's time to re-up.
And Malcolm, because we had just finished reading the biography. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's because I'm clear, and I've always been clear, that these messages are not mine. I am simply the channel that is here, the voice that you hear, but these messages are not mine. They come through me and to me. And so by reminder, a revolutionary spirit is about a fundamental change to the way you think, a fundamental change to how you think about life, a fundamental change about how you see God, spirit, source, a fundamental change on how you relate in the world because of your faith, a revolutionary spirit. And we have models, many models of what it means to be a revolutionary spirit. Jesus the Christ, the Prophet Muhammad, Siddhartha Gautama, Mahatma Gandhi, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and there are many others that were revolutionary spirits. But they also had a faith walk.
Okay, because I was going to ask you.
They also have a faith walk.
Okay.
So let's just talk about Jesus, because I think most of us are very familiar with Jesus from one perspective or another, and have countered Jesus, his life, and his likening, his beliefs, and there's a whole religion, the largest religion in the world, by the way, billions of people who intimately follow Jesus. So Jesus was a spirit person. Jesus was a healer. Jesus was a wisdom teacher, a social prophet, and a movement founder. Let me repeat that. He was a spirit person, a healer, a wisdom teacher, a social prophet, and a movement founder. A movement that is still around, called Christianity, that over 1 billion people follow around the world. And according to the Bible, theologians and scholars, Jesus was a faithful believer of what had been divinely communicated to him, and a doer of deeds. A faithful believer and a doer of deeds. Jesus offered alternative wisdom, a revolutionary way of seeing God. He was bringing something to his times that wasn't being brought. A revolutionary way of seeing God, of people seeing themselves, of how they related to other humans, what they thought about power and life generally.
Okay. He
brought a new ethic and a new social vision. Theologian and scholar Marcus Board writes that Jesus opposed the rule of the day, the politics of oppression, the economics of exploitation, the domination of wealth and the wealthy elite, and social norms that were politically motivated and enforced to disenfranchise the masses. And for being this physical, mental, emotional healer, wisdom teacher, and social activist, he was murdered by the state. I hope this sounds familiar. Does it sound familiar? Jesus opposed the rule of the day, the politics of oppression, the economics of exploitation, the domination of the wealthy elite, social norms that were politically motivated and enforced to disenfranchise the masses. Is this 20 BC or is this 2020? A revolutionary spirit who had a faith walk. And Jesus' faith walk resembles all the aforementioned prophets and martyrs. The prophet Muhammad brought a message to his community that was not present, similarly situated in terms of what was going on in the region at that time. Siddhartha Gautama, he was wealthy, but abandoned all of his wealth because he understood that the dominance of the wealthy elite was not the way.
That's the Buddha.
The Buddha. So he abandoned his title and his wealth to go be among the masses. Again, we see a pattern here. And we are more familiar with the stories of Gandhi and Malcolm X and MLK, who also preached these same messages, had these same teachings.
And they all got killed.
Yes. All but two were murdered. All but two were murdered. Let's be clear. All but two were murdered. The Prophet Muhammad and the Buddha were not murdered, but the rest of them were. They were mission driven, and their faith was reflected in their personal and public acts. And you know what else they had in common? They all used contemplative practices. Praying, seclusion, retreat, meditation. They took time out from the world to sit and to listen and commune with the divine. And this is where they received their divine guidance. This is where they learned how to act on their mission, their purpose, and the divine intention, the divine niyyah on their life. And this is what is available to each one of us. What is my faith walk? What am I to do? I don't know. That's another thing that's coming up a lot for people right now. You know, some use the term discernment. I'm trying to seek discernment. What's my next? Where should I go? What am I letting go of? What am I moving into? What does being involved in this season of change look like for me? Yes, I want to be involved of the civil unrest and the civil uprising, but I don't feel safe because of COVID-19. So how do I participate? Contemplative practices. Get your divine guidance from the divine. Lean into that indwelling transcendence. Learn from that has always known and actually has the answers.
Get your divine
if
guidance
we
from the
have
divine.
the ear to listen.
Yeah, I love that one, Becky. Get your divine guidance from the divine.
So
I'm the amen corner. Don't worry about it.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all the amen corners. We talk about it. If you got to ask for it, it wasn't yours to have. So thank you. I'll take all the amen cornering. Live or via chat. So this morning, I woke up with the divine download that my walk is I get to say when I'm pouring out and pouring out. Please pour in. As a representative of so many Black women who pour out, but we don't ask to be poured back into. Who focus on being strong all the time, no matter what. And if we cry, it's behind closed doors. And that is not the call on our life. that we are not intended to be martyrs while we're living. That yes, we are strong. Yes, we are healers. Yes, we are wisdom teachers. And yes, we have a faith walk. And we get to take time out to sit, to be still, and have time for ourselves. As a famous scholar said, self-care is an act of resistance. A revolutionary spirit embarks on self-care. Self-care is an act of resistance. So one of the ways that you can show up right now and show up for your community is to take care of yourself. Because you can't do what you do if you aren't taking care of yourself. So when you are listening for that divine, because the divine can talk to you in many ways. It may be in dreams. Some call that a seer. If you get woken up in the morning with a dream, write it down. You won't remember it in the morning. My messaging usually doesn't come in dreams, but it does come from something startlingly me awake and just all of this information in my brain. And I've learned as I've shared to write it down because I will forget it. It may come to you while you're walking the dog or on a call. But if you've been in contemplative practice and messages of clarity or a certain knowing or understanding or even something that's confusing but comes out of nowhere, it's not coming out of nowhere. You sat seeking. But it may come to you in a way that you didn't understand, didn't plan, or didn't intend. But it's there. And so then yours is to act, is to trust, is to believe, and to take that faith to a walk. And that includes listening to your body. Feeling what you feel. Being aware when you're eating, when you're doing, if your body's talking to you and saying something's not working, ignoring and denying it is not a faith walk. Ignoring the physical things going on in your body is not a faith walk. This is the divine talking to you through your body. Physically, listen. Love yourself. Self-care is an act of resistance. So I want to close this before we get into how we manifest the faith walk, right? Because we've been actually talking about the faith walk ever since we started Sacred Space Sunday. We just call it insight plus application equals results, right? A faith walk is insight plus application equals results. So, you've heard from me. Let's hear with what some of these prophets that we've been talking about had to say about this very talk. I do need my glasses. And they're not in this room. So, we're going to keep this real. Fortunately, I can see. But, Vanity had me knock my glasses, and I could really use them right now. But that's okay. We're gonna get this through. So I'm going to go ahead and post in the chat where I'm going to be reading from.
Why don't you just let me help you?
It's pretty quick. And those on Facebook, Mark can probably support me in posting there for you. Okay, but actually, you know what? It'll take me 2 seconds. I'm gonna paste it there. Facebook, you got it too. All right, so this first reading is coming from Mark 4:3-10. So this is Jesus speaking. Listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Other seed fell on rocky ground where it did not have much soil, and it sprang up quickly since it had no depth of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it and yielded no grain. Other seed fell among the thorns, other seed fell into good soil and brought forth grain. growing up and increasing and yielding 30 and 60 and 100-fold. And so then, when he, that being Jesus, was alone, those around him, including the 12, asked him about the parables. They didn't know what he was talking about. They were like, you said that. We don't know what you're talking about. Please explain that. So he did. Wisdom teacher, right? So now we're moving to 4:13 through 20. And this was Jesus' response. Do you not understand this parable? Then how will you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word. These are the ones on the path where the word is sown. When they hear, the devil immediately comes and takes away the words that is sown in them. So I want to pause there. So we've talked about that on Sacred Space Sunday, right? Affirmations. Those of us who do affirmations. That's why we say be careful about your thoughts. Because you think something positive, you dream, you have big goals, and then you immediately come behind it and say something that is the opposite of it. And what did you do? You take away the word that is sown. Right? And these are the ones sown on rocky ground. When they hear the word, they immediately receive it with joy. Oh, I came to Sacred Space Sunday. I'm uplifted. I'm receiving it with joy. But if you have no root, it endures only for a while. Because if you aren't doing the application to get the root,
you forgot all about it.
Come Monday, it's like we weren't even here. Right?
Preach.
Then when their trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately they fall away. Right? So sometimes we're in it, we're believing it, we're practicing it, but then stuff starts to happen in life. Yeah. Life shows up. And all those contemplative practices, all those affirmations are out the window. And others are those sown among the thorns. These are the ones who hear the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth and the desire for other things come in and choke the word, and it yields nothing. And so I've been in conversation with some people these days, a lot of professionals who are definitely feeling empowered by what is going on in the world and all of the conversations about race relations. However, the foot in the oppression that is corporate America is heavy. And then the conflicts come in of, if I speak up and speak out, what happens to my career progression? And so there is this dilemma. And that's a real dilemma.
So those would be examples of the thorns.
Yeah. Things of the world come in and choke the word, and it yields nothing. This is real. And these are the ones sown on the good soil. They hear the word and accept it and bear fruit 30, 60, and 100-fold. This is the courageous faith walk. That despite all of those other things that we talked about, the negative thoughts that come in to try to push us down, the lure of the world that says I have to have these things and this is the only way that I can get it is through this job, but I feel this call and this thing, and not only am I hearing it and seeing it in my dreams, I'm feeling this unrest in my body, but I'm not going to move. I'm not suggesting that people just go out here callously, abandon responsibility. I'm huge on responsibility. But if you have been in contemplative practice and your faith is talking to you, there's an opportunity to listen. So let's quickly go to the Quran and see what the Prophet Muhammad had to say on this topic. Okay. And we're here in the Poets, the Surah of the Poets, which is the chapter in Arabic, and they call their verses ayahs, which are signs, because every verse is a sign. I love that.
The Poets is the chapter?
That's the chapter is called the Poets, which is chapter 26. But in Arabic, the chapter is called the Surah. And the verses, so here we're doing verses of the ayah 52 through 68. Okay. Then when we, meaning God, revealed our, meaning God, will to Moses, we said, leave with my servants by night, for you will be pursued. Pharaoh sent messengers into the city proclaiming, these people are a puny band. They have enraged us, and we are a large army on alert. So it was that we, meaning God, made them leave their gardens and their springs, their treasures and their noble dwellings. We gave such things later to the children of Israel. Pharaoh and his people pursued them at sunrise. And soon as the two sides came within sight of one another, Moses' followers said, we shall definitely be caught. Moses said, no, my Lord is with me. He will guide me. And we, meaning God, revealed to Moses, strike the sea with the staff. It parted, each side like a mighty mountain. And we brought the others to that place. Now, how many of us would have been in our faith walk in that moment? Or would we have been with the masses saying, we shall definitely be caught?
Now, this is in the Quran.
This is the Quran. I told you, right? Surah 26, ayah 52 to 68. Right? Let me continue. We saved Moses and all his companions and drowned the rest. There truly is a sign in this, though most of them do not believe. Your Lord alone is the Almighty, the Merciful. So we have the sacred texts. We have the faith walk that was demonstrated by these prophets and martyrs. The signs are all around us if we were to stop, to listen, to hear, and then take action. Insight plus application equals results.
Yeah.
So this week, the request is that you schedule in your calendar. Put it in your calendars. If you use calendars, put it in your calendar.
Write it in.
Like they say, from a financial standpoint, and I don't know if he's still on, but yes, he is. Lamont Lieutenant would tell you, pay yourself first. Rule number one in finance, pay yourself first. Well, rule number one in taking care of yourself as a human, a divine being, is scheduling time for yourself first. So put it in your calendar and devote at least 15 minutes a day. I said 15 minutes, not hours. There are 24 hours given to us. We are blessed with 24 hours in a day. I said 15 minutes. Schedule at least 15 minutes of this 24 hours a day for yourself every day for the next 2 weeks to be in some form of contemplative practice, to connect with Source, whether that's prayer, meditation, mindfulness, 15 minutes, and open yourself to divine guidance. Move into that space with an intention of being open for divine guidance. And as I said, it may not happen immediately, but just look to notice over this 2 weeks period as you have this intention or in this practice. Where is guidance showing up? It may show up in dreams, innovative ideas, clarity, and then trust it and take action. So I will put in the chat.
I did.
Okay. And as well the questions. So now I want to open it up and hear from you, because I've been talking for a long time, but I think you can tell I had a lot on my heart today. So, but I want to hear from you all. So here are the questions, and Facebook, I'll put the questions in the chat here, and you can certainly chat it here, your answers. And if we don't respond now, we certainly will post this broadcast. Okay. So I want to open it up and hear from you, because that's what we do on Sacred Space Sunday. I realize, where we are in time, but what is most important are your voices. So how are you demonstrating your faith walk in this time of multiple intersecting pandemics and revolution?
And when you say hear from you, not me, you.
Yes, I mean the people on Sacred Space Sunday, the people in the chat. We won't start with Mark, but Mark, I'm sure will have some comments. What are the ways that you're already intentionally taking time to connect to and listen to the divine source? And what are the ways that you're remembering your faith and taking action, especially when it's uncomfortable, scary, or unappreciated by those around you? So any one of those questions, who's going to be courageous enough to be first to come on and share their thoughts? Just come off mute.
All right, I'll go.
Okay. Hey, Tanya.
All right. Hey. So, I have always shared with you guys the transition I'm going through with my business. And it is a very critical time right now because I'm in one of those spaces.
The recording has stopped.
Okay. I'm in one of those spaces where I have to show or prove. During the pandemic, my stuff is down. Business is slower. For people that don't know, I have a business where we do sleep studies is a big part of our business. So naturally, during a pandemic, and nobody's trying to come in my lab and get under the go to sleep. Right? Help. That ain't what they're trying to do right now. So, I often, as I think about the transition that I've had, I think about just in the beginning how the Creator brought us here, and everything we needed was right there. So I've recently kind of started looking around in the warehouse that we have, and we have a lot because we downsized of inventory goods and fixed assets that's worth money. And I've always known that this was stuff that I could sell. Just haven't stopped, taking the time, what's in here, the refrigerators, the washer and dryer, stuff that we've had in other locations. And finally just took stock to that because I started kind of spending some time with a business coach, and she just kept going back to this inventory. What is this inventory that you have? And a lot of it's stuff related to sleep. So I started posting this stuff on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, some of the old like CPAP supplies on eBay. And of course, it's very competitive as far as prices, but it's just stuff that I couldn't sell because some of it is obsolete. But there is somebody out here that has this old mask and they're looking for the pieces and the parts that go to it. And just in a short week's time, I mean, we've done like $8,000 in 1 week. Wow. I mean, that's almost like sales in a particular week, that or at least cash that I would get in. And so it's just a matter of just stepping out there, hearing the voice, because sometimes God speaks to me when I'm driving, and I hear that all the time about pushing, selling that stuff that's there that I'm not able to use. But it's like, well, where are the people? Where I'm going to find them? I know I got this equipment, but I don't know who wants it. But this time I had to hear the voice of another person that just reverberated something I had already heard. And it took me about a day to list all this stuff, and I go in there. And the funny thing about eBay, y'all, it's my constant encouragement. Anytime I have a bad moment, when you get a sale on eBay, it goes like, cha-ching.
You're like, yeah.
Hey, it's like that Southwest commercial where they get the alerts about the deal.
It's $9 cha-ching it, and sometimes it's $600. But baby, I'm happy for all my cha-ching.
I know that's right.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Sweet, y'all. So I had to kind of have faith and listen to the voice and just be obedient. Because I've been hearing that all along. I need to go in there in that warehouse. But it's like, oh shit, it's hot in there. And I don't know these people want this stuff. And guess what? People on eBay want all them old ass cushions that's been sitting there. 10 years, some of that stuff been sitting in there. So that's my testimony. Love y'all.
Awesome.
I love it. Love you too. That is fantastic. Yeah. I mean, she really showed it, right? What's the example? You hear it, it sounds weird. Oh, it's burdensome. Oh, you don't feel like it. But it's the answer to the thing that you've been asking for. And then this is the other thing. And then Mark, I'll turn it over to you because I know you got something to say. I see your shoulders moving and everything.
You said you wanted people to respond. I'm letting you respond.
One of the things that I did leave out is that God also works through other people. So sometimes it's a dream or some message or whatever, but also other beings, right? Which are not limited to humans. So it can be communicated in many ways. God's going to use every form and fashion to get at you because that source is really here to support you. It is your source, your substance, and your supply. Mark?
No, I was just commenting that she was Tanya just really even spoke how she's demonstrating her faith in the even in the times of the pandemic. You know what I found interesting about your if somebody else wants to comment, just come on off mute about the seed sower parable. So I think there were 4 or 5 different things that happened. One just fell to the dirt. One fell to the rocks and the thorns. About 4 different things. But the one, so it was a lot of seed that was spread out. But and I guess it took that fertile ground where it was multiplied 30, 60, 100 times. So it don't even take a lot of seed to get this great yield. And so just a little bit of faith, that's what I took out of it. A little bit of faith can go a long way when it's put in the right place. So, anyway, any other comments? We love to hear. We talk all the time. But I need some help with this faith walk, because especially when the thorny season. Anybody got some example what they do with their faith walk in the thorny season when the world start kicking in? We all silent on that? Okay.
Any comments at all? Maureen, we see you reaching for to unmute yourself? Yes, okay. Just give her a second.
You know my body language. All right. Hi, guys. So I don't have much to offer on this. I do feel I've always been on a faith walk, even since a child. So that's why I love your Faith with Faith Sundays. One thing I do want to share, which was pretty profound, you guys, was I woke up really upset about, not upset that there was a protest. I was glad there was protest about Black Lives Matter. But on top of the pandemic and on top of stuff I've been going through, I just got up in the middle of the night and I was like, what? And I just said to God or the universe, I said, you know what? You've got this, right? This is very personal, because I said this, because there's no way I had the answer, and there's no way I've ever been through this before. I have been through very bad things before, but I went like this. I said, you've got this. And even last night, this was like 2 weeks ago, okay, when Floyd was murdered. But the thing is, even last night, I said, everything dovetail the way you are designing it. Universe or God. I believe in God, but what I'm saying is my manifestation of the universe is the source is God. Okay? Not a man with white beard upstairs, but like a divine being. So the thing is, I said, everything is working out, because I saw 2 things that worked out recently, and I was like, this is interesting. Can I tell you what those are? My sister finally got married after 13 years with her partner. And now there's a pandemic, and they are city DJs. They go out every night. Now they're forced to be together. And so it was interesting that after 13 years, partying all over the place, now in the pandemic, they've been home. They went to the beach in New Jersey. Now they're home in Brooklyn. But what I'm saying is things are definitely for a reason. And that wouldn't have happened. You know, they said, okay, we'll get married and we'll keep doing what we're doing, right? Well, they were forced to be in a clamshell together. And I think it's very telling. So that was one of the signs I saw. So anyway, my point is this, that I guess I want to say that everything really is, you can't slack. One thing, I'll be quiet in a second, but one thing is you can never slack and say, oh, it'll just all be fine, right? But you should try to be aware of these moments that you guys are talking about to see, and you can't slack. You got to take action. So that's why your Take It Straight Sundays is right. You can't just slack and say, I guess it'll be okay, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. No, you shouldn't keep doing what you're doing, unless that's a good thing. You should make a change, however slight, to make things keep going, I guess, for you. And don't be, it's easy to get numb, I think. You know, don't get numb or stay numb, because that hurts people. I think numbness, especially with the racial thing going on, numbness can hurt people, even sexism, you know? But that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Rennie. Yeah, appreciate that. You said something that was interesting there because the title of your talk was "Walking the Faith Walk." A revolutionary spirit is insufficient. And when I was typing that in, I was like, a revolutionary spirit is insufficient. Is that what she really meant? And I still, every time I read it, I'm like, is that written right? A revolution. We talked about Jesus had a revolutionary spirit. But so I just want to make sure that I don't miss what you're saying here because I think there could be, like I walk away from it, and what happens, one of them things happens, the rain comes or something, and I miss. But just explain that to me one more time.
Yes.
Why is a revolutionary spirit insufficient?
Right. It's step one. A revolutionary spirit is step one. That's the faith. You need the walk. So you want to take that revolutionary spirit, like LaTanya shared, right? The spirit was coming into her about how to think differently about income coming in and what she already had a value that could produce income now. Mm. So she had the revolutionary spirit. She said it had been in her mind for a while. But she couldn't yield the results. She couldn't have the impact. She couldn't experience the manifestation until she engaged that faith in a walk and went to eBay so that she could get to experience the beauty of cha-ching.
So the revolutionary spirit alone.
Right,
but it is important. It is a requirement.
It is part of the process. It is not the process.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Now you said something else around, and I know we did our ritual truth telling a month or so ago, and Maureen, she said George Floyd was 2 weeks ago. I know to me this just seemed like just one big long month or week, but actually I think it was almost 2 months ago now. Right, that's just how much stuff is happening, and what you talked about, the grief, right? And so I want to come back to the space for women that are going through right now, because you opened up, and I'll just share some of our business. You said you didn't sleep well, right? And you woke up with some things in your heart and in your spirit, and so I don't know, something to me just says that maybe there's some other people, whether they on here that are feeling the same, and so I just want to give space to acknowledge that. Those stages of grief that you talk about, we're all experiencing them for different reasons at different points in time, maybe some of the same things at the same time. I don't know that, I could reach over and like, oh, baby, I love you, it's going to be all right, and but I can't fix that. I don't know. Maybe that, what would support look like? Like, what is for some of us that might be listening that know some women, some black women that are dealing? Is it just having a ear? I'm being willing to sit and ask a question. What are some things we could do to support you?
Thank you. So, what support looks like is going to be individual. So then I would offer that, one, if you've got a black woman in your life, that you just ask her. And most likely she's going to say, I'm fine.
Right.
That's the challenge. And so the call is twofold, right? What? Get out of my face. Right? Maybe that's just me.
I got a feeling it's not just you.
But one, right, like stopping and saying, no, I get that you're good. Mm-hmm. And like stopping them and creating a space which could look like serious eye contact, which might look like a phone call. Mm-hmm. I know you're good, but let me just let you hear from me that I don't require you to always be good, and none of us are always good. And so in whatever ways I might be able to be or I could be, I really say I am here to support you. And I'm requesting that you support yourself. So talk to me about what you're going to do for yourself today. Encourage, affirm, right? But ask. right? Because I can't speak for what support looks like for everyone. And then when they tell you, believe them. But certainly want to.
So to your point, because I am interjecting. I acknowledge that because she's like, that's one of the things that's not working. That's what that look was. Like Lamont says, how do you get past the I got it syndrome? Because I'll just tell you from myself, sometimes when you check in on a person, like, hey, I'm straight. Or if they're like, I'm not straight, they just start breaking down. You're like, shit, outside of, what do I do with? I want to make that person feel, I want to have them stop crying. I want to have them stop hurting. And I can't stop their hurt, right? And so then it's like, okay, we do. It's not an easy situation to navigate because then I'm like, well, I can't stop your hurt, but I don't want to make it about me, not taking it away from you. And so I think that's a good,
yes.
Asking them to talk about themselves and what's going on.
So let me respond to what you said, because you actually said it yourself.
Okay.
I can't take away your hurt. None of us can take away someone else's hurt. And so that desire to fix it actually is an ego thing. I don't want to be with the pain that you're experiencing. You feeling pain makes me be in pain. And I'm saying I don't want you to be in pain, but I don't want you to be in pain because it makes me be in pain. That's the tough truth of that, right? It really is then about me. I don't want to be in pain because when I see you in pain, now I'm in pain. I don't want to experience that. That's the tough truth, right? But we can't take away someone else's pain. So if you ask someone and say that you can come and sit with me, then just sit. The directive is not to fix. The directive is actually not to fix because we're clear and we're smart and we know you can't fix us. But sometimes just need a safe space to say it out loud and be heard.
I think Nikki, you had something you wanted to jump in. I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, I did, and then I was into this what we were talking about now.
Sorry.
It might all tie together because this revolutionary spirit and wanting and knowing and having ideas but not taking the action really came up for us. Like, we applied for something for our business, right? And the city said, work on your application and come back next time. Now, for those who don't know, I work for the city.
For a long time, right? For
a really long time. Right. And then the application that we put forth, they said work with one of these groups. And one of the groups comes to us for help. So I was ticked off. And then I was meeting with somebody from the city and they said, Tracy was kind of laughing about it and I was ticked off and I took it personally, I'm like, we're one of these businesses that are out here that are doing things that are helping other people. And I didn't feel like we're being acknowledged. I didn't feel like we were being recognized. I didn't feel like our efforts were being shown. It really was taking it on. And the woman said, okay, well, are you going to ask them why? And I was like, no, I got it. We're going to keep going. I could show them better than I could tell them and everything else, right? and for me, knowing that there's something wrong in this process, but not taking the step to talk about it is what I think Nay was speaking to about having this revolutionary spirit, but not taking the next step of the action that could actually break this thing open. And part of that is fear, right? Like, will I say too much? Will I go in too hard? But ultimately, I do know what my intention is because my feeling is really from, what about if it's happening to us, who are all the other people this is happening to? And I kept saying, and I said to the woman, and I know her, I said, if y'all keep doing it the same way, we're going to have the same results. If you keep giving the money to the gatekeepers and have the same old gatekeepers, we're going to have the same results. Why are people burning down stuff? What did they say? This is the language. What did King say? Riots are the language of the unheard. And so not being heard has you come out in this fire mode, and I think I tend to be that way because I'll hold it in until I want to cuss them out. And then because I want to be professional.
Yes.
And I want to be this. And that to me is keeping my revolutionary spirit, not channeling it in a way that can actually benefit other people. So taking that step to put the stuff on eBay, taking that step to call the city and say, I want a debrief. Yes, I want a meeting. I want to talk about why this isn't so, not just for me, but for other businesses. I'm going to be ready to take in whatever's said. You know, and be able to move to that next step to better me and others as well. And not that fear of like not being enough and not good enough. And so I think, you know, to the last point, you know, Tracy does a good job of like, okay, why are you, what's going on? Right. So he'll let me just, you know, rant like these man, and then he'll say, okay. And then so he will, and he knows me enough, you know, he'll talk about it, and he'll be quiet in times and talk about it. And he'll say, do you want me to set up the meeting? Do you want me to do this? So I think we have knows me enough to kind of step away, but also come back and say, let's do this. Or what about this? Or sometimes just say nothing until I bring it up. So I think because I felt the weight of it, not just for us, but for other people that I know that have really great proposals. And I know some of it is just BS. The city's BS of doing the same old darn thing for the same old people that they're pumping money into. So anyway, I wasn't going to say anything, but then it all tied together for me. So I wanted to really share that sometimes that revolutionary spirit gets tamped down because of the fear of breaking open. And but what I know is that's what's needed.
I love this, Nikki. Thank you. Yeah, I love this, and you have brought me to one of the points that I wanted to make, you know, by referencing these exemplars that we have and these faith leaders that I talked about, right? So the Buddha he died around 400 before the Common Era.
BCE.
Mark and I had a long conversation about BC, meaning before Christ versus before the Common Era.
Hey, that's what I learned. I don't know if I learned it in school or somebody said, here's a tip to remember it. I'm not sure, but I definitely didn't know the E part.
Many of us did. That's a debate for another day. You can, whatever BC means to you, BC means to you. Buddha lived a long time ago, right? So he died around 400 BCE, right? And Jesus lived, you know, right at the term of BC to CE and died somewhere in the first, you know, 30, 50 years.
And there is no AD.
But my point is, we talked about the revolutionary things that these individuals did, and the Prophet Muhammad lived, you know, in the early centuries. These are people who lived a long time ago, and we said, you know, Jesus was murdered, you know, the other two died, and they did things that were in opposition, as Nikki, as you're sharing, to the status quo. Right? You work for the city, you know, they just do what they do the way they always done it, and what you're being presented in, are you going to be the one to try and push and bring in this revolutionary spirit to get them out of the status quo? Now, you know, we read these sacred texts and they talk about their beliefs. They talk about their relationship with God, and they talk about the acts that they took. I haven't read it. Maybe some of you have, but I haven't seen anywhere that said there was no time that they experienced fear. I haven't, we don't know that they did these acts fearlessly. They just did them. They felt a call and they acted. But nowhere does it say that they didn't experience inside some trepidation, some fear. Maybe they did, but I have not seen that, right?
You hear them say Moses would ask, like, who should I say sent me? But
right. But what you do see in the sacred text, both in the Quran and the Bibles, continuously, these prophets have been called upon, and they say to God, I can't do that. Why me? Do you really mean me? Maybe you don't know who I am in this world. They constantly talk about that. No. It doesn't say that they did it fearlessly, but it does say they did it under resistance and under much coaxing.
Many of them, yes.
Many of the prophets, right? And so that experience we have of fear is, of course, normal.
Yeah.
Being uncomfortable, normal. What are many of us telling, who are African American or Black or a person of color, telling our white friends right now? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Move past the discomfort to do the self-examination. Move past the discomfort to have a conversation you don't want to have. We want them to do it.
Yeah.
And we get to do it too in our own lives when it is called for. So thank you for that, Nikki, because yes, I meant to highlight that point, that the faith walk does often, more often than not, entail moving out in the face of fear and discomfort. And that's where you keep coming back to the faith walk. And so, my prayer these recent mornings when I first get up is, let my words be your words, my thoughts be your thoughts, my acts be your acts. I completely surrender, I obey, because really, at this point, I just want to turn it over. I'm going to show up and do, but you put that guide. And I have continuously over the months experienced something saying I should say or do, and me not wanting to say or do, but I do it anyway. And every time it turns out oh yeah, that was the thing to do. It doesn't get necessarily easier. The fear is going to keep coming. So I just encourage all of you, and that is the big part of the talk here. That's why it's a faith walk, because you're moving forward without knowing what the outcome is going to be, but trusting that because of where it came from, that it is the thing to do. Any thoughts or comments, certainly from a perspective of what I shared at the beginning, what we've been talking about now. I absolutely acknowledge the time. So, thank you to anyone who has already had to leave the program.
We had some left and came back and left.
Right. We are in the space, at the space, all of that at the same time today. And I thank you all because you have absolutely fed me and uplifted me. And so I knew that I could come to this sacred space today and share where I was and get uplifted. And so I know Lamont said earlier in the chat, lean on us, and I have. And so I thank you, and I just want you to know that it has been nourishing to me. But I want to hear from some more people. If anyone cares to comment, please come off mute.
I just want to say one thing. I want to say that it relates to what you just got through talking about. I don't believe that there's any growth or any movement or any positiveness that comes when you're comfortable. Because when you're comfortable, you sit back, you lay back, you're okay. Change, growth only comes when you're uncomfortable. That was all I wanted to say.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. And speaking, why you off on the uncomfortable thing, because I think this faith walk, this revolution also ties in how do we support each other, how do we support our sisters. Did you have any thoughts you wanted to put on that part of it?
Are you talking to you?
Yeah, Melody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea for what they said. You can't just fix it. And you can't fix it. Everybody doesn't know they can't fix it. I think that's a male thing, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I think that's what men are raised and taught to do, is to fix things. If something is wrong, you fix it. You bring out your tools, whatever needs to be fixed, and you fix it. And I think sometimes, like what Nay said, you just kind of have to listen. Just be there, be supportive, let the woman know that you're supporting them, and listen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, thank you. I'm working on that. That is tough. I remember just being a kid, maybe seeing my mom cry for the first time or something, and just feeling helpless, right? And connecting to that feeling every time I see a woman going through it, even though. I mean, I don't remember anybody telling me you're a man, you're supposed to, but for some reason I think you're right. That's reinforced in so many ways. And then you start laying up to this whole faith walk and the revolutionary spirit is like, well, shit, that's uncomfortable. Let me just avoid being in that situation where I got to experience them going through this, and then that doesn't work either. You know. So, yeah. Other thoughts? We're in the after space.
Yeah,
After
definitely.
space. Those that you are free. Well, why don't we close it with a prayer today? Officially close it, and you brought us along. I mean, you already had the Spirit moving all on through to as you.
Yes.
You know, she preached today. She didn't teach. She preached today. And she get nobody else no space to talk, but we're going to give y'all some space. You give us a closing prayer.
Yes, thank you. And so whatever is comfortable for you, just come to a place of presence, whether that's eyes open, eyes closed, whatever works for you. But I just ask that you take a moment to acknowledge your beating heart. To acknowledge that you have breath to breathe. Particularly in this time in COVID-19 where there are many around the world right now who cannot breathe. That sentiment of not being able to breathe and how that has pervaded our society in recent times. Whether that you can't breathe because you're suffering from some dis-ease, or you can't breathe because there is a literal foot on your neck, or you can't breathe because your economic challenges seem to be suffocating you, or you can't breathe because you are unclear about what that next step is. So in this moment, if you are breathing, know that you are blessed. And even if you are struggling to breathe, know that you are blessed. Because that which is source indwells you, moves through you, as you, is you. And that nature that is your essence always was and always will be. Right now, we are that are living and breathing are having a human manifestation that will come to an end. Though that essence, that source, that pureness, that connection, that love, that life that is truly us will always be. And it is because of that truth that when we go within, when we stop to listen to that source, that all the answers of the universe are found. And in this, we can truly rest. So I give thanks for the sacred space. I give thanks for all that have joined. I know that this truth is true for me. I know this truth is true for all that are hearing my voice, whether now live or as this recording passes. And I send a word of encouragement, a vibration of blessing and love and empathy and compassion and freedom and ease and peace and joy and humor to all. And I send you that divine encouragement to take that time for yourself each day as an act of divine resistance, connection, and love for yourself in the world. And with that, I release this prayer to the action of the law, knowing it is already done. Amen, Ashe, and so it is. Ubuntu.
You know, I can't remember the word. Ubuntu.